The ex is just constantly stuck in your head. You can go to sleep at night thinking about them, wake up in the morning thinking about them, go throughout your day, they just pop up in your head, living there completely rent-free, and it's incredibly annoying when you're just trying to move on with your life. When you've spent a lot of time with someone, this is quite normal. You've spent a lot of time. You care about that person, even if you might not want to admit it sometimes. You formed an emotional bond with that person, even if you might not want to admit it to yourself at times. You might be trauma bonded to that person, and we can often not want to admit it to ourselves, especially after all they can do to us. However, they can just appear in our thoughts. And it is good. You can get to a place where it's just nothing anymore. It's just somebody you'd kind of meet in a street, and it's, you look at them and it's just not, or you think about them, because things pop into your head. So even when you've removed them from your headspace, you might still think about them, but how you think about them is different. People often go through several emotions, which are all normal when someone has taken advantage of you. These are the why would somebody who cares about me do this, which is because they lack the empathy to care. They lack the object consistency to care. When it comes to object consistency, this is usually developed with the primary caregiver around the age of 2 and 3, and this is our cognitive thinking abilities. So when there is disagreements or conflict between ourselves and somebody that we care about, we can still care about that person. We can still care about their feelings. We can still care about the relationship with that person. Often why when a narcissist is falling silent on us, we become quite anxious because we still care for them. With a narcissist, they rarely have developed that object consistency. So as soon as things aren't going their way, as soon as there is any conflict or distance or disagreements, they just stop caring. They then lack the empathy to care about who we are. It's very difficult coming from our point of view when we do care about them to try and understand how someone who sold us the idea that they did care can suddenly not care. It's very confusing how someone that can hurt us so much, why would we still care about them? After all they've done, how can we still care? How can we still forgive? Then we can go through those emotions such as anger, which again is a normal human response when someone has taken advantage of you or cheated you. When it comes to a narcissist, not all narcissistic people cheat. However, they all are cheaters. They cheat people out of their money. They cheat people out of their careers. They cheat people out of their dreams. They cheat people out of a family. They cheat people out of livelihoods. They cheat people out of happiness, out of joy. So it is normal to go through emotions such as anger and resentment. These are emotions we have to process, and the best way to process these kinds of emotions is by becoming the best version of ourselves, because the more we work on ourselves, the less we begin to focus on them. You can then go through a stage of pitying them. Once you understand the disorder, who they are, what they're capable of, what they're not capable of, you can go through a stage of pitying them. You have to understand you cannot help those who are unable or unwilling to help themselves. And then you can get to a stage where it's just nothing, it's just a part of your past. It takes work, it takes time. It depends on the severity of emotional or physical abuse that you underwent with that person. It depends on who that person was within your life. We are individuals. It depends on the kind of therapy that you might need. The treatment depends on your mindset, whether you're willing to adapt to that growth mindset and start looking for the things that are going to help you. A lot of people can, and it is normal to get stuck on that "woe is me, why is this happening to me?" when we have to learn to snap out of it and start going into the "what is this teaching me?" And it's not easy. It is worth it. We can also go on to things like, "it's not possible, why is it taking me so long?" And these are all thoughts that are going to, all normal thoughts, but they are going to hold us back. Sometimes we have to stop and recognise how far we've come and not how far we've got to go. And yes, there is things like depression, anxiety, CPTSD, triggers that we do have to work through. And whilever we're working through them, it is a process. And we've got to recognise sometimes the steps that we have made along that process. That saying, Rome wasn't built in a day, but they were laying bricks every day. So you can get up one day and you can be up and running and everything can be going absolutely great for you. And then you can get up the next day and it can feel like the worst day ever. And everything just seems to be coming at you. And on those days, you have to take bite-sized chunks of what you can handle, what you can sift through, what you can work through to get yourself back up the next day and the next day and the next day and the next day. So it is more than normal to have thoughts of the past running through your head. It's more than normal to have thoughts of the ex running through your head. It's more than normal to be ruminating. I'll have the video up here about rumination, about what you could have said differently, what you could have done differently, what you could say differently next time when it comes to things like narcissistic parents, narcissistic relationships. These are all normal. We do have to recognise them. We do have the ability to recognise them. We also have the ability to work on them. Pattern interrupt is one method that works for a lot of people. This is where your subconscious can do it automatically. When you go into that room for something and then when you get there you've completely forgotten what you went into that room for, your subconscious has interrupted the thought pattern so that it's gone out of your mind. So when they crop into your mind, or an emotion crops into your mind, when a smell triggers a memory, or when someone says a word that triggers a memory, or anything that triggers that sort of memory or emotion, or a memory of the past that pops into your head, or something you could have said or done differently, or the person themselves pop into your head, you have got to use that pattern interrupt to shift them out of your head the right way. Sometimes with a trigger, we need to recognise that trigger. We need to write that trigger down. We need to understand that trigger so that we can learn from that trigger and what it is teaching us. Sometimes we have to realise that it's time to just let that trigger go. We are safe now, we are okay now, and that is not benefiting me in my present. It's not going to benefit me in my future. When they're popping into your head, you need to start interrupting the pattern, because the more we start thinking, the more we start overanalyzing, the more we start looping around the same scenarios, the more they keep popping into our heads. If it's something you need to work on, you need to write it down, and you need to find whatever method works for you to work on it. If it's something that you cannot change, you can't alter, if it's in the past and there's nothing you can do about it, you've got to interrupt that thought pattern. Things like, yes, I recognise that thought. Yeah, I could have said something different, but I didn't. So this is the here and now. What am I doing now? And bring yourself into the present moment and focusing on what you're doing now. Put a funny film on and start watching that. Put some funny or motivational YouTube videos on and start watching and listening to those to get you out of that thought pattern. Start creating dreams of your future, thinking about what you would like in your future, what you would like to do out of your life, places you would like to visit, anything possible. Recognise the thought for what it is, accept that the thought has popped into your head because it has, then see whether you need to work on that thought. If you don't need to work on that thought, tell yourself you're not thinking about it and start thinking about something you do want to think about. It's all about retraining your subconscious thought pattern to start working for you, because toxic people have often trained it to work against you. This again goes with limiting beliefs. So when you're saying things to yourself such as, I can't, it's impossible, it's not that easy, I'll never be able to do that, I'm not capable. Our subconscious is constantly feeding ourselves those thoughts, and they are thoughts that often somebody else planted there. So we have to start questioning ourselves in the right way. So when we're telling ourselves I can't, start saying, well, why can't I? And if you do come up with a list, as many of us like to do, if you do come up with a list of the reasons why you can't, you've got to start questioning those reasons and think, well, I can't do it because time, for example. I can't do that. Why can't I do that? Because I don't have enough time to do that. Why don't I have enough time to do that? Because I'm busy. What am I busy doing? Write down your routine. I get up at this time, I eat at this time, I shower at this time, I go to work at this time, I take care of the children at this time, I watch TV at this time, I do this at this time, I go to bed at this time, I sit on my phone at this time. And then see what you can cut out of that time to make time. Can you get up 10 minutes earlier? Can you watch 30 minutes less of television? Can you limit time on your phone? You can always make time. You have got to start challenging yourself and then start saying, actually, yes, I can make time. I can make some time then. Is it going to be easy? Possibly not. Is it going to be possible? Yes, as long as I do it. And then you need to do it on a continued basis for at least 30 days to get into that habit. And so many things in life are about creating the routine, creating the habits, including the habits of our thought process. So it takes time and it's a process to shift out old thought processes that no longer work for us and bring in new thought processes that do. I shall add the other video that I did about pattern interrupts last year into the description. Again, if anyone has any advice on what helped them alter their thought pattern, please also add that into the comments. I hope everyone has a lovely day. Thank you for listening. Bye.